Alright, sorry about the fanboy, it's hot in here. In this video I want to do basically a nice good overview of this awesome paper, groundbreaking paper in the history of epistemology, philosophy of language, as well as the philosophy of science. This paper really, this has epistemology, philosophy of language, and philosophy of science, and also a theory of truth in it as well. This is Quine's, Willard Van Orman Quine's, Two Dogmas of Empiricism. This is in many anthologies of epistemology, quite a few. It's also in my philosophy of science anthology over there. So, pretty much, this is published in 1951. I have a video on Rudolf Carnap's Empiricism, Semantics, and Ontology. He's really responding to that. He's responding to that as well as giving us like a groundbreaking bash on two big dogmas. Of course, it's two dogmas of empiricism. So, see what I have written here, and I'll get to it. And I apologize. Usually, when I do these, I have everything written here that I need, but once I finish talking about all these things, then I have to erase and talk about empiricism without these dogmas. So, the whole thing here is in logical positivism and the Vienna Circle. The whole thing was about trying to make sense data or observation the very foundation of all of our scientific knowledge and all of knowledge itself. And I have tons of videos here. This will not make sense to you if you do not have at least some kind of background in this stuff. Honestly, when I had just decided to be a philosophy major, and I had just gotten into philosophy and loved it, I took a class in epistemology, and I read this, and I didn't get any of it. So I think it's best to have some kind of background in this, or to be at least somewhat, at least know modern philosophy, and at least know some, philosophy before the 20th century, in of the analytic stuff. So, I guess the whole thing here, as I could explain, I guess I want to set the stage a little bit. The whole thing is we have a thing language, talking about how we have whiteboard, wall, black patch there, and all that stuff. Or actually, no, the thing language is wall, whiteboard, marker, markings, chair, pillow, bed, paper. Those are things, the language of things. And then we have the language of sense data, which is white patch, black patch, brown patch, gray patch, blue patch, red patch, all this stuff, or smoothness, smelling of a certain aroma, that kind of thing. What these people like Moritz Schlick and Rudolf Carnap wanted to do, they wanted to create a translation, but from talking from talk about physical objects to talk about sense data or immediate experience. So, the whole thing is that that was the whole goal with the verifiability of theory of meaning, and that was the whole thing. And kind of in the 40s, they were this whole logical positivism, verifiability and verification, term-by-term translation between thing language and object and sense data language. They all kind of, started to not work for a while, and it kind of went out of style. And in 1950, Carnap published his paper Empiricism, Semantics, and Ontology. And Carnap, in 1928, wrote his book called the Aufbau, or Die Logische Aufbau der Welt, or the logical construction of the world, where he was doing this term-by-term translation between things and experiential language. So that was the whole thing. But then by 1950, well, in 47, when A.J. Ayer published a paper, Phenomenalism, the whole thing, he was kind of still trying to do this, but in a much less radical way, in a cash value kind of translation. I do have a video about that paper of his, and by 1950, the whole thing was kind of going out of style, and Quine came along and really just bashed reductionism and bashed analyticity and bashed meaning in general. So this is about meaning, okay? This whole paper is about meaning, and he's kind of really is saying that we don't really have a way of pinning down any kind of notion of meaning or meaningful entities or really anything like that. So reductionism, by the way, what that means is translating physical object terms into sense datum terms. So it was term by term, talking about red ball to red patch, round patch, 3 inches long, or 1 foot long patch, or something like that. Term by term, and then it kind of went less radical to like something like statement by statement. And even went towards somebody like Ayer with his cash value translation in 1947, and Quine is just kind of really making a groundbreaking paper here. So now that I've set the stage for you, and if I do have a ton of videos, okay, about epistemology in the 20th century. However, if you have a question or you need to ask anything, or you don't get something, please comment below, because I would love to discuss with you, because whenever you comment, I get an email, and I will always respond. So, first of all, he starts with analyticity. We have with Kant the analytic-synthetic distinction. That's a pretty fundamental thing to know. If you know philosophy, you should probably know this. Analytic is, these two words, analytic and synthetic, is, you could talk about them in many different ways, or give many different definitions of them. What Quine says about analytic statements is that it's true in virtue of meanings independent of fact. Now that's really what it is. I think of it sometimes as true in virtue of the meanings of the predicates. So, we have the term like, this is what Quine did. He used this one, which is a bachelor is not married, or a variation of that. Now, that's obviously. Alright, so to continue, my storage filled up, by the way. To continue, this statement, a bachelor is not married, is of course analytic. There's various different variations of this, or a bachelor is an unmarried man. This is not something that we have to think about or reason through. We don't have to look to facts to figure this out. The bachelor means a man that is not married. So the meanings of the predicates are, Carnap would say, contained. But this is what Quine says. An analytic statement is true in virtue of the meanings independent of fact. So Quine doesn't like this distinction. So what he wants to do, he's kind of pick on this word meanings, and that's what all of this is based upon. He's picking on this word meanings as to figure out what is meaning, or what is the entirety of all meaningful entities, or what is meaning really? What does it mean for something to mean something? And in this whole paper, he's dogging on that. He's just basically, well, in the first part, there's basically, well, there's lots of parts here where he's talking about analyticity, and then he talks about reductionism and says that, well, they're the same. So, you know, so he tries to figure out meaning by naming or reference of singular terms. Now, he gives the example by Frege, the morning star versus the evening star, where the morning star and the evening star are both the planet Venus. So, the morning star names Venus. The evening star names or refers to Venus. However, their naming or reference is the same, but morning star and evening star name or refer to the same thing. However, the meaning of morning star and evening star are very different. So he also wants to talk about meaning as possibly being extension with respect to entities. An extension is if we have a meaningful statement or something or a statement that asserts something, its extension is the concrete examples of it, or the actual, the class of entities which show a certain statement to be true. So the extension of this would be a man who's called a bachelor and yet is not married. So the example by extension we have, or Quine gives the example, creature with a heart and creature with a kidney. Obviously, the extension of creature with a heart is an animal. Obviously, creature with a kidney is an animal. So their extensions of the extensions of creature with heart and creature with a kidney are the same thing. However, to a creature with a heart and a creature with a kidney have two different meanings. So, since we're talking about general terms with extension and singular terms with naming and reference, he's going to continue to talk about meaning with respect to synonymy. He talks about it just as synonymy as first, then he kind of gives it the name cognitive synonymy. So he tries to, I guess, figure out what synonymy is. Now, first of all, like a synonym, like dumb is a synonym for stupid. What a synonym is, or sameness between words. So he wants to pin down what makes something synonymous with another. What makes a word or statement synonymous with another. So he's trying to figure out what makes that, what makes synonymy. So then he kind of goes to definition. Thus the lexicographer's job, the one who does the dictionary. A lot of that, fire trucks. A lot of that has to do with, a lot of definition has to do with usage, and it's kind of difficult to do that because, you could be like, well, this is defined by this, and then you have a definition for a word, and then there are words in there that you want to know what it means, and then you have to define those words. So definition could go on indefinitely, and it's grounded also in usage and not by what the lexicographer does. And so pretty much there are two classes of analytic statements. We have the logical truths. Thus, a logical truth is something that is true all the time, no matter what, and it's not possible that it's false. Thus, a logical truth, like either it is Tuesday or it is not Tuesday. Thus, it's always true, which is the disjunction. These two stupidest rule ever in logic. It is Tuesday or it is not Tuesday. It is always Tuesday or not Tuesday. So that's a logical truth. The second kind of analytic statement is synonyms, or synonymy, basically. like this statement, or no bachelor is married, stuff like that. The synonymy, the issue of synonymy. That's their like that one. So what we also could do is we could also do things by the way of explication. I didn't write a few things down here because I don't have too much room. Explication, thus elucidation or uncovering meaning. That was Carnap's thing. I could go into that for a while. Or we have a logical system of basic concepts. We have like a logical system of basic concepts with which we make all of our other concepts. So we have a conceptual or logical economy. Another way would be a logical system of a concise notation. Another economy. But definition, explication, and these logical systems of basic concepts or concise notation, they all rely on prior relations. Ooh, thunder. There's lots of stuff going on outside. Ambulances and fire trucks and thunder. These all, definition does, they all rely on prior notions of synonymy. They all rely on, we could go on and define things indefinitely and never ever stop ever. There's a thunderstorm warning here right now. Excuse me, I'm gonna shut the windows. Sorry about that. I should have stopped the video. So that's the whole thing here. They all rely on prior notions of synonymy, so we can't get down quite yet to what synonymy is. So we get to this new thing, which is trying out is interchangeability salvo veritate, or interchangeability preserving truth. So you know what this is. Bachelor would be interchangeable with unmarried man, and stuff like that. Ooh, felt that vibration from the thunder. So we are trying to do it this way, and that's where we get to this cognitive synonymy. When he introduces this, he doesn't really give you a definition of it. He doesn't really tell you what it is. So this only works, Quine says, with languages where analytics are understood already. So basically he's talking about this with respect to finding or figuring out synonymy based upon interchangeability salvo veritate within languages, within a certain linguistic system. However, this only works to figure out what synonymy is, where in a language where analyticity is already understood, and we already know what a analytic statement is. Now he keeps bringing this up and keeps saying that we don't understand what this is, so why do we keep talking about it? That's the whole thing. He tries to, the whole thing here in this paper, he keeps shoving me. He will ask what something is, and then you get a definition, and thus, you can keep going on defining or doing stuff like this indefinitely. So, last thing before I go to reductionism, the idea of a semantical rule. This is from Carnap, big time. Where we have a linguistic system or a linguistic framework where we have the statement S is analytic for L. Oh wow. Tornadoes. So the whole thing here is truth depends on language and extra-linguistic fact. Now he talks about Carnap's state descriptions, and it's basically we use this to understand things. Sorry, the storm is distracting me. So that's kind of what this whole thing is. Now, if I didn't explain this more, oh my gosh, if I didn't explain this more, I totally can. So the whole thing is that he kind of can't really get a understanding of what analyticity is unless we can't get a really pinning down what meaning is. So, let me stop the video and see if there's a tornado warning or anything. Okay, I will finish this video and I will not let a damn thunderstorm ruin it. Okay. Where was I? Okay, I pretty much ended with talking about analyticity and how he was trying to pin down what this is, since it's a word that we don't understand, and how we don't really have a way to pin down meaning either. So that way, then from there he moved on to reductionism. Now, this is about the verifiability theory of meaning. Okay, now what that whole thing is this thing of the logical positivists, which I was discussing at the beginning of this video. If a certain statement has a criterion of application according to Carnap in his article "The Elimination of Metaphysics Through the Logical Analysis of Language" in 1932, then it has a way to be empirically verified, and that's how we get meaning, is through also by grounding all of science and all of our knowledge on observation. And this radical reductionism is term-by-term translation, like I said earlier, from taking our physical object or thing language, talking about whiteboard, wall, black marking marks, bed, chair, pillow, all that stuff. She's talking about things of sense data or observation language. Blue patch, black patch, smoothness, white patch, brown patch, aroma of a certain thing, all that stuff. Now, it was radical reductionism when it was term by term, like very down to a very T translation or translatability from thing language to sense datum language. And as time passed, from the late 20s or early 30s and into the 40s, and to even into 1950, is went from radical reductionism to a much lesser reductionism, and then towards people abandoning the whole thing altogether. Now, if we can get a good verifiability theory of meaning, Quine says, then analyticity is saved after all, since we can have a way of grounding meaning or figuring out what meaning is. And I guess a way to understand how this is about meaning is that the condition under which a statement has meaning is the same as the condition under which a statement is justified, is the same as the condition under which a statement is true, and and is the same condition under which a statement is verified. That's the whole logical positivist mantra, if you will. So the whole thing here is that both of these dogmas rely on meaning. They rely on meaning, and so does analyticity. That's the whole thing. They both rely on that. And if we can't figure out a sort of way of talking about meaning, if we can't figure out what meaning is, or how to, escape this problem of what meaning is, then we could probably save these two, but Quine rejects both of them. Now, personally, myself, I reject this one, but I don't reject this one. I think this one is still savable. And the reason I'm thinking about this right now is that it has to do with my writing sample about Karl Popper in David Miller and about the philosophy of science of falsifiability rather than verifiability. So now that I've done that, I can sort of give you a bit of a thing about what Quine says is empiricism without the dogma, and what that is via this web of belief, which I've done in a previous video where I was talking about holism. Now this is in the philosophy of science. This is called holism. I'm not finished with my web yet. In that, you know, it's the Quine thesis. This is philosophy of science. These two things are that we should test hypotheses and predictions together with their background of predictions, their background of their system. So this is my web, and if I can get other colors here, green and black. Okay, this stuff is observation. This outer periphery is what Quine calls the periphery. Now, the inner part, this part, is mathematics and logic. Now, what is the intermediary? The intermediaries. Now, this is the intermediary is questions about theory and how the observation comes together with this. I think of it as theory, but it's about how the observation connects with this and how the whole theory of science keeps on going. Now, this is, in epistemology, this is called coherentism. Just making sure the camera's still going. Coherentism, because we don't have any foundational based beliefs that we're holding on to, but we have a coherent, holistic system of beliefs where we have observation in the periphery, and mathematics and logic on the middle, or on the inside, and theory about as to how these connect on the intermediary. So this is holistic in that we are testing our hypotheses and prediction of science, which is the intermediary, this stuff. We are testing that with the background with our observation and our mathematics and logic. We are testing our theory and the prediction that we get from our theory as with its background of other hypotheses. Now that's the philosophy of science part of this, but the epistemology part of this is that this is how we do it. There's no justificatory connection between observation and the knowledge that we have. There is a bit of a causal connection between this and this, and any statement is revisable, and you could possibly abandon them because there's a high possibility of error in this. And the whole thing is that there's no real link between these two, between observation and the theory part of it, and there's no empirical content of any individual statement. That's talk about that is kind of not good. Now we normally would try to revise this, but we could revise this or even this if we needed to. The whole thing is coherentism in that we are wanting to preserve the whole structure of it and not disturb the system. However, if something contradictory comes about, or something doesn't fit together, some kind of inconsistency or contradiction, we can, we can edit or revise this. But if revising this doesn't solve the problem, then we can go here or even go here. Anything is revisable. We could, because of we could have possibly have had a hallucination or something with our, observation or sense data going wrong. We could revise this, and I think what's even crazy is since it's really, really coherent, is that we could even revise the mathematics and logic. So that's the empiricism without the dogmas. This is called the Web of Belief by Quine, and he has other writings where he does talk about this web. And the whole thing is that we don't do things via that verifiability theory, meaning reductionism, nor do we have an analytic synthetic distinction that Carnap had in his 1950 empiricism, semantics, and ontology. So hopefully you kind of get, this is the whole system of the empiricism without the dogma. What matters is that everything fits together, and everything is revisable. Now, his predecessor was Otto Neurath, and I have a video about his article, which is called Protocol Sentences. And the whole thing here is, he talked about a sorting machine where the machine kept on going, and until we had a contradiction, then it would ring, and then we would take something out and make it so it would go so it would go again. What matters is that everything fits together. So that's the whole thing. I apologize for all of the thunder and all the noises. I don't even know if you could hear those, but I apologize for that, and I apologize for the pauses. And thank you. If you have any questions, please comment below. I'd love to hear from you. And if you think I left something out or messed something up, also comment below, because whenever you comment, I get an email. And if your comment is constructive, then I will always reply. So thank you.